Hi there. In this video, we're going to explore the new HDX API using Data Recipes AI, which is a solution developed by DataKind in partnership with Microsoft and Save the Children. And it's used for humanitarians to be able to analyze data more efficiently and effectively. And specifically in this video, we're going to focus on the recipe manager's journey, basically the person looking after the analytics recipes. So during this project, we did a bunch of research and talked to a lot of folks and came up with a set of design principles. The main one being to be LLM assisted, not LLM first. We felt that was a good way to go, that we wanted to add value irrespective of the LLMs, while LLM technology is still quite formative. That said, we will be using LLMs to reduce the amount of time it takes for people to generate insights, and so they must be safe. Any insights produced must be extremely transparent so that people know how the data was or the insight was arrived at. And the solution as a whole should be accessible and should be positioned well for community contribution. So based on that, we came up with a concept called data recipes. So there are many examples on the web of LLMs analyzing data. They do that on the fly, and that's amazing and great. The trouble is it can be a bit unstable. And we felt it would be much better to have a human in the loop before those analytics go out to end users. And so instead of asking the LLM to analyze data directly, the LLM generates code to perform that analysis. A human can look at the code, see what it's doing, fix it, sign off on it, and then publish it so that that recipe can be put into a library and reused on websites, in chat interfaces, all over the place. And then those recipes can also be kept up to date behind the scenes, so that the end user sees up-to-date data analysis. It also has a cost implication. Because we're not asking an LLM to do the analysis every single time, and we're saving the results of each of those analyses, it means we can present recipes to end users and just rerun them without having to call the LLM. So that's much lower cost. We don't need a powerful LLM for that. And so that stream can be the high volume end user workflow. But for people looking after recipes, the recipes admins and managers, they will need powerful LLMs. And so we have two streams to the solution, one for the recipes admin and one for end users. And this demo focuses on the recipes admin stream. Now, the system as a whole has a lot of components, and it can speak to remote APIs to bring in data on the fly. But for amazing data sets like the new Happy data sets, because it's structured so nicely, you're able to ingest that. And in fact, Data Recipes AI comes with a Happy adapter. It will pull in data, it will normalize it, and will also pull in corresponding shape files from HDX so that it's easier to do mapping. All the data goes into a Postgres database, and the ingestion will automatically bring in new endpoints and new data as it arises. And the database has PostGIS, which means that even using SQL, you can combine this data and easily produce maps. So that's a bit of context. So now let's dive in and see what it would be like for somebody managing these recipes. In this project, we spoke to a lot of people that might potentially be managing recipes, such as data scientists and data engineers, and people that are familiar with the data. The message we got was, rather than building a user interface for managing recipes, most of them wanted to stay within their environment where they do their work already. So that's things like VS Code and other environments. And so instead of developing a dedicated user interface, we created something called the Recipes Command Line Interface, CLI, so that people can incorporate it into their existing workflows. So I've started the CLI here, and you can see there's a set of commands, and this will allow you to check out recipes from the database. Then once you have them locally, you can edit them. And as you'll see in a minute, you can use AI to generate and edit them as well. And then finally, once you're ready with your recipes, you can actually publish them back into the database. So those recipes can be reused by other systems, either in a chat interface or websites, or anything can use the recipes database. So I'll start off. The first thing I'll do is I will issue a checkout. And so this will pull recipes down to my local environment. And you'll see you've got this nice little checked out directory. And here are some recipes. Now, all a recipe is a snippet of Python code, as well as some supporting metadata. Now, once you've got it locally, you can run recipes as you want. So take, for example, I'll run number 7 here, which is to plot some pyramids. which I believe is this recipe. And what that will do, it runs in the same environment that the recipe server uses, so you don't have to worry about environmental stuff. It's all done for you with the CLI. And there you are. There's our recipe. Now, what's interesting about this recipe setup is maybe that's not correct. Now, you can, of course, go in and modify the code if you're used to it, and many people will opt to do that. But it's also possible to actually edit the recipe using AI. So if I look at that recipe, green seems a bit of an odd color. Why don't we change the green to be blue? And so, oops, I've even got a typo in that, so it'll be interesting to see if it works. But basically what this does now is it takes the code for the recipe that we have in there. It takes a prompt where we have automatically informed the LLM about all the data that it's got in the environment so that it's able to make informed decisions about editing code. And we've prompted it so that it adheres to PEP 8 and Python standards. And so now that's gone off to GPT-4o, and it will edit the code according to our input. And so we can see that came back. Now, if I click off and on, hey presto, it's now corrected my plot to be blue. And you can program conversationally like this. Incidentally, that was an edit, but you can actually create brand new recipes this way as well. So I could say plot population of a country by, I don't know, admin 1, say, using HDX data, API data. Now, you'll notice it's a bit long-winded. You as a recipe manager, you have to put in a longer intent because it makes for a neater setup in the back end. But, we've actually added in visual validation, and you can see your intent there was actually rejected, or rather my intent. So let's do it again, and let's now add in, I didn't say what kind of plot, and so it did the right thing. We need to be more specific. Plot a bar chart. Why don't we do that? And so now hopefully it has all of the entities that it needs to be able to generate this recipe. Okay, it looks like it actually came back. And so now if we have a look, plot a bar chart of population by admin, I think it's this guy here. Now, sure enough, there it is. It's got data. I actually don't like that. So I'm going to change it to, I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to say sort by population because it looks a bit odd. So we'll just enter that, and it will now run off and do that edit. Okay, it's run. So now let's click off it, back on it, and sure enough, it's sorted our graph. So you've got LLM tools. Writing these things from scratch and editing would take a lot longer than what we've done here. But you as the human, you've always got the ability to review the code that gets generated. And over time, the system, we haven't put it in yet, but the system will actually learn from approved recipes so that it will actually get better and better at generating these things. So what other tools have we got? Now, you as a recipes manager, you might want to know what data is actually there. You might need to know what countries we've got in a certain table and things like that. So we've actually also included a little AI chat mode in the command line interface. So we can now ask questions like, I don't know, what data do you have for food prices, I don't know, in Chad? And what this is a very simple text to SQL AI agent, and it will take your conversational inputs. And because it's been prompted again with the data recipes AI metadata, it knows what data is in the system and it's able to execute queries. And so here you're getting information about sorghum prices and what have you. So now as the data recipes manager, I've got information at my fingertips. So I know how to conversationally program new recipes. So there's a much more streamlined workflow for development. So that's a quick tour of what it would be like to be somebody looking after and managing recipes, creating and editing them, using AI tools to generate the recipes and help them work much faster and more efficiently, but also giving them the ability to review recipes and make sure that they do what they say. Once those recipes are done, of course, the next step is, or the final step is, to actually check the recipe back into the database. This will look for changed recipes and will actually push both the recipe as well as a sample result that you see here into the database. And then once they're in the database and once that publish has occurred, that means they can be used by any other system. So pyramid population for chat. And there you go. That's the recipe that we corrected from being green to red. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much.